Why would they trade back out of number 6 when Jalen Carter's still on the board? Why did they pass on Christian Gonzalez and take a running back at number 12? Why did they reach so far up on Jack Campbell at number 18? This regime sucks. This regime is the same old Lions. I've seen it before. It's Matt Millen all over again. Yada, 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 yada. Look what happens when you let Brad Holmes cook. Look what happens when you let the draft actually complete itself. The Detroit Lions, again, for the 3rd straight year, get rated as one of the highest 2023 draft classes, man. Another A. That's 3 straight years where Brad Holmes has come out, where draft experts, analysts are coming out days after the draft and giving the Detroit Lions an A. So let's give Brad Holmes a round of applause. We have no clue what these players are going to bring, if they're going to be really good or if they're going to be a bust. So let's see what they can bring to the table from what they did in college. And before we start putting them on a pedestal, before we start calling them a bust, let's see what they can do. Let's let them actually play. But in this video, we're going to break down the Detroit Lions 2023 draft class and see what from what they did in college, what they're going to be bringing to the table. So let's dive right into it, man. With the first pick that the Detroit Lions had in the 2023 draft, they traded back from number 6 to number 12 and took running back Jahmyr Gibbs out of Alabama, man. Probably the second running back in this draft class, but he is a baller. And if you just watched his film from Alabama, you should really go check out his film from Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was one of the worst college football teams when he was there. Didn't have a very good football team. He was their whole offense, and teams knew that they had to stop him, but he was still producing. He looked really good at Georgia Tech, and from my eye, one of the smoothest running backs I've ever watched through film. So I'm super excited to see what he can do, and I'm pumped that he's getting compared to Alvin Kamara. What Alvin Kamara means to that New Orleans Saints offense, if Jahmyr Gibbs can replicate that here in Detroit, man, this offense is going to be crazy good. I'm excited that we keep adding more weapons to this and making your strength even stronger. So let's dive into the second pick that the Detroit Lions had in the first round with Captain Jack Campbell. Man, I'm super excited to finally have a quarterback of our defense as a linebacker. Throughout my fandom of being a Detroit Lions fan for the past 15 years, the Lions have not had a linebacker to save their lives. At year in and year out on defense, I'm always complaining to my dad and to my family and to my friends, saying how bad the Detroit Lions linebacking corps are. We finally got a stud in there. We haven't had a stud in there since DeAndre Levy, and he was always getting nicked up. And we haven't had a true captain of your defense linebacker since Chris Spielman. I wasn't even alive then. All I hear about is Chris Spielman is one of the best Lions ever. So if we can finally get somewhat of that in Jack Campbell, I'll be pumped about it. And I'm pumped that he's 6'5", 250 pounds and can move from sideline to sideline. And he can, if you watch his film from college, he can drop back and cover it. He had like 5 picks in college, I think. So let's get it, Jack. Let's get it, Captain Jack. Now let's dive into the second round. He had the 3rd pick in the second round. I'm all pumped about it. I kind of want defensive line. He's still got Keanu Benton from Wisconsin there, but they decided to go tight end Sam Laporta. 2022 first team Big Ten Mackey Award finalist. He's 6'3", 240, can move, he's athletic, and you compare it a little bit to George Kittle. If he can live up to a little bit of what George Kittle is, I'll be excited. I think he's going to be a little bit better than TJ Hawkinson, and like I said, that's just another weapon to add to that offense, and there's no reason for that offense to not finish in the top 5 this year. There's really not. You got weapons everywhere, and especially when Jameson comes back from a suspension, this offense is going to be filthy, especially with one of the top offensive lines in the league. Now let's dive into this player where we all wanted him in the first round. We all wanted him at number 18, but he fell to us in the second round. We snagged him, Brian Branch. If you just watch his film, he pops out. He's physical, he tackles, he's a sure tackler, he's a ball hawk, he can return punts. I'm excited to have him added to that much improved secondary. Think about how far our secondary has came from last year at the beginning of last year. Okuda, Oworie, and Will Harris, and Jack Hughes. Now you got Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, you got CJ Gardner-Johnson, Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, Jerry Jacobs, Will Harris, and now you got Brian Branch. That secondary is much improved from last year, and I'm so pumped that we're not going to be continuously getting torched downfield from long passes, man. Our defense should be night and day different from last year, the beginning of last year, because in the second half of last year, our defense was balling out. So that's the second round. In the third round, we finally get our quarterback of the future. He's going to sit and develop behind Jared Goff for the next couple years. He's got to get healthy from the knee, and this is not going to create a quarterback controversy. Jared Goff knows he's our guy. He's got 1 or 2 years on his contract. We're probably not going to pay him. We're probably going to have Hendon Hooker come in, develop behind, get healthy, get that knee healthy, learn how to be a pro, and develop behind Jared Goff. Nothing wrong with that. There's no quarterback controversy to create here, and I'm pumped we finally got our quarterback of the future, and he got him in the 3rd round with Hendon Hooker. He could have won the Heisman if he didn't get hurt. He was a baller at Tennessee. I'm excited to have him be our quarterback of the future when he does get healthy. Now let's get into the defensive tackle that the Detroit Lions took from Western Kentucky, Broderick Martin. Huge dude like Jordan Davis. I'm pumped to have him in the middle of that defensive line with Aleem McNeil and Isaiah Buggs, and hopefully Onwuzurike plays a little bit this year throughout that back injury. I'm pumped to see what he can bring to the table. Just another big dude to add to that defensive line. And our defensive line was much improved in the second half of last season. Now let's dive into our 4th round pick, offensive lineman, offensive tackle, Colby. I don't really remember what his last name was. All I know is we were getting praised for, it's kind of like a steal because he went to Holy Cross or something like that. Small school. He could play. He drafted as a tackle, but Brad Holmes said he wants to see him compete for that right guard spot. Competition, add him to that offensive line that's already one of the top 5 units in the league. I'm super excited for that offensive line. And then later in the draft, in the 7th round, last pick of the draft, last pick of our draft, the Lions take wide receiver Antoine Green from North Carolina, who is a vertical threat, good hands, big body, fast. I think he's going to be just more depth to that wide receiver position. You had to get rid of Barry Hill, and you had to get rid of Quintez Cephas because they were gambling. Now, once Jamison Williams comes back, this is just another weapon. You just keep adding weapons to that offense. That's going to be very good. I'm super excited about this draft haul. And like I said, before we start questioning Brad Holmes, man, let's look at the drafting list, and we're already getting an A for it. That's 3 drafts in a row. Let Brad Holmes cook, and Brad Holmes we trust. One Pride, signing out. I can't be more thrilled with this draft haul that we got. The season's looking bright. I can't wait for the season. It's your boy T signing out. One Pride. Let's go.